Thank you for joining us on CBS News Texas Streaming. I'm Danica Hill. We are coming to you with breaking news. We do know that the man accused in the Athena Strand case has now pleaded guilty to capital murder. We want to show you quickly that opening statements has begun in this. The judge letting the jury know in this case that they will now move forward in the punishment phase of this. They will be listening to evidence as this trial goes on to then determine what punishment Tanner Horner will be facing. He was accused of killing Strand back in 2020 in front of her home in Wise County. We do have a crew on the scene there inside of the courthouse standing by, prepared to give us updates on this. We do know Trevor Sahaki has been standing by as well, waiting to deal with this, with learning this new information this morning. Trevor, if you're available to speak with us this morning, kind of talk us through what things look like there in the courthouse this morning.
Well, like you said, Danica, they've already started the opening statements part of this trial. And for the most part, this trial will now continue as you would expect a regular trial to go if they were going to determine whether he was guilty or not guilty. It's just now the jury will determine what kind of punishment he will have. As you may recall, previously he had pled not guilty to that capital murder charge, and they were going to go through the entire trial, opening statements, witness questioning, counter questioning, all of that, including closing statements, of course, as well. But now this trial, like you said, it switches into the punishment phase, where the jury, they'll still get to listen to everything. They're still going to go through those opening statements. They're still going to question all these witnesses. They're going to go through all of that, and then the jury will decide what kind of punishment Tanner Horner will face for the murder of Athena Strand. Now, this jury, as we now found out, there's been no plea deal, nothing like that. Typically in these kinds of cases, when I've talked to attorneys before, when they plead guilty in a case like this, it's more just because they want to get through maybe some of the pain that people could face by having to rehash all of these really memories over and over again. And so what they do, they plead guilty in order to kind of just move it forward, because they're like, they have a hard time thinking that they're going to win and get a not guilty verdict. And so they decide, okay, we are instead going to just plead guilty and try and hope that we can get some leeway from the jury in order to not get the death penalty, because the Wise County District Attorney has said previously that he plans on going for the death penalty in this case. Now, obviously, the defense is trying to avoid that. Their previous plan, we expected them to try and use Tanner Horner's autism to try and avoid the death penalty in this case. We can assume that they're still going to try and do that. Of course, the death penalty is something that the defense wants to avoid. They're going to try and get something like life in prison instead of the death penalty for this. And they hope that pleading guilty brings them a little goodwill with the jury so they are able to get a better verdict out of this. Now, like you said, this case, it brought a lot of attention inside the courtroom. In fact, almost all of the women, especially in the courtroom, were wearing pink. We saw a lot of pink in there. Our reporter inside, Lauren Crawford, she said that it looked like about 80% of the courtroom was wearing pink in support of Athena Strand, the 7-year-old. And the judge was okay with that. He saw no reason to have any issue with that. Now, they did just send all of the people that were outside, that were kind of witnesses to this entire trial. They just put them inside. No phones were allowed in there as well. Everyone is sitting quiet. There are some people in the media overflow room as well that are watching with us, the media, in there. Like you said, opening statements did just start. We are still getting some notes. So, Danica, I'm going to send it back to you as I read some of the notes from Lauren Crawford, but we should be able to get a little bit more for you in about 30 seconds or so if you want to toss it back to me then.
Absolutely, Trevor. So you heard it there that this man, Tanner Horner, has pled guilty to capital murder. As Trevor mentioned there, we're not aware of any sort of plea deal. This is just a full-on guilty plea. Now, the judge did say before the opening statements, instructing the jurors to listen closely and carefully, that they will no longer be determining his guilt. They'll be determining his punishment. So as Trevor mentioned, as I've mentioned, they are going to go through this trial, presenting all of the evidence, bringing in witnesses so that the jury is able to give the correct punishment to Tanner Horner in this case. If Trevor's had a chance to kind of run through this. I'd like to go back with him as well and talk about some of this. I also have been looking through some of Lauren's notes as she is talking, as she's sitting in the courthouse as this is all happening right in front of her. She's been providing notes with us. This is something that we have continued to monitor, and we're expecting this to go on a lot longer. Trevor, now that you've had a chance to kind of look through some of Lauren's notes and kind of this surprise guilty plea this morning, what are some of the things that you're noticing as this trial is expected to continue?
Well, really, it's the pathos argument here, Danica. It's really trying to figure out the emotion of the jury and direct their emotion in one way or another, because a lot of times these decisions of a jury, especially when it comes to a death penalty case, when you're deciding whether someone lives or whether someone dies, a lot of that comes down to emotions. Now that really the big fact of the case, did he kill Athena Strand? Now that he's pled guilty to that big fact of the case, they now wipe that away, and it's come down to okay, how can we direct the emotion of the jury? And what Lauren is telling us right now is that the prosecutor has begun their opening statements. They're really trying to set the tone. As you might remember, the mother of Athena Strand, she told us back when Tanner Horner first was arrested and all of that went down back in 2022, 2023, she told us that Horner was a FedEx delivery driver, as we previously reported, and he was on his way to deliver Christmas toys, Barbie toys it was, to the family for Christmas. And the prosecutor is using that in their opening statement, saying that delivery drivers, they typically bring happiness and joy, really setting up that emotional contrast between what delivery drivers are supposed to bring around the Christmas time and what the prosecutor says Tanner Horner brought himself, which was, of course, they would say a great deal of sadness and heartbreak to the Strand family. Now, I just want to give you an idea of how we're getting all this information in case anybody out there is wondering, because I am out here, I'm outside the courthouse, just so you understand, all this trial is happening right back there, right where you can see that officer over there, and that is trial room C. There's also trial room E, that's right here. This is where the media and some overflow members that are witnesses, they're all in there. Right now, our reporter Lauren Crawford, she is inside there. She's listening to the trial as it's happening, but it's actually happening in the next room, and she is writing all of her notes in a shared document that we're all looking at, so we're able to get those up-to-the-minute updates for you as they continue to come in, Danica.
Hey, Trevor, thank you so much for that recap of everything that's going on inside of there. We do want to let our viewers know that we are streaming the opening statements. As he mentioned, the prosecution just began their opening statements in this, the opening arguments. That's something we are going to continue to carry throughout today, as well as this trial continues throughout the rest of the week. We are prepared. As you heard him say, Trevor is outside of there. We've got Lauren inside. So I want to make sure that you are aware and that you know that we've got you covered on this case, which now is going to continue on into the punishment phase. Thank you for joining us on CBS News Texas streaming. Stay with us if you would like to continue to watch the entirety of the trial.